In the freezing rain, a 6-year-old girl looked a billionaire in the eyes and asked if she could sleep in his doghouse. What happened next became a story the entire world couldn't stop talking about. The rain that night was relentless, a curtain of icy water drenching everything beneath it. Down the empty, quiet street of immaculate mansions, a small figure moved slowly, almost swallowed by the storm. She couldn't have been more than 6, skin soaked to the bone, a thin cream dress plastered against her frail frame, hair once neatly braided now a tangle of wet strands clinging to her cheeks. Her bare feet slapped against the pavement, numb from the cold. This was Amira. She had been walking for miles with no umbrella, no coat, no shoes, and no home. Every step was slower than the last, but she kept moving until her eyes caught something at the far end of the street. Not the grandest mansion or the glow spilling from its towering windows, but a small wooden doghouse nestled beside a manicured hedge. She stopped, staring at it as rain dripped from her lashes. It was shelter, however small. She crouched down, clasping her hands together, trembling not from fear but from exhaustion. And that's when a voice cut through the downpour, deep, steady, and close. "You shouldn't be here." Amira froze and turned. A tall man stood there in the rain, dressed in a perfectly tailored beige suit that was already darkened by water. His golden hair clung to his forehead, his polished leather shoes sinking into the mud as if he didn't notice. This was Callahan Reed, a billionaire real estate mogul known for his unshakable composure and ruthless efficiency. He'd stepped outside expecting to find his dog, but instead he found her. Amira met his gaze with wide eyes, but there was no fear, no flinch, only the quiet resolve of someone far older in spirit than in years. She didn't run, she didn't invent a story. She simply asked, so softly he almost missed it over the rain, "Please, can I sleep in the doghouse?" Callahan blinked, unsure if he had heard her correctly. "Just for tonight," she added quickly, her voice breaking at the end. "I won't take anything. I just don't want the rain to touch me anymore." The words hit him harder than he expected. She wasn't pleading in the way children usually did. She was stating a need, stripped of hope but still carrying dignity. "Where are your parents?" he asked finally. Amira lowered her gaze. "My mama died. My uncle, he said I was too much. He left me at a gas station." Callahan's breath caught. This child had crossed miles in the freezing rain, and here she was asking not for food, not for warmth, but for the space a dog slept in. "Have you eaten anything?" She shook her head. "Not since yesterday." Callahan glanced toward his golden retriever, dry and safe inside the little shelter. Behind them, his sprawling mansion radiated light and heat. The contrast was suffocating. She whispered again, "I'll only stay tonight. I promise I'll leave tomorrow." Something in him shifted. Without another word, he extended his hand. She stared at it for a moment as though it might disappear, then placed her small, freezing fingers in his. Callahan lifted her effortlessly and started walking toward the house, rain and mud trailing behind them. When Callahan stepped inside, the marble foyer gleamed beneath the crystal chandelier, but the staff didn't seem to notice it anymore. Their eyes were locked on him, on the sight of their powerful employer holding a drenched little girl whose bare feet were leaving muddy prints on imported stone. The butler froze mid-step, the housekeeper covered her mouth, and the chef peered out from the kitchen, eyes wide. "Towels," Callahan commanded, "and warm soup. Now." The staff scrambled without hesitation. Amira clung to his shoulder, shivering, her gaze darting up the sweeping staircase and around the opulent space. "Is this what heaven looks like?" she asked, her voice small but earnest. Callahan stopped mid-stride, his chest tightening. "No," he said gently, "but it will be tonight." They wrapped her in thick blankets, the chef placing a steaming bowl of soup and cocoa in front of her. She ate slowly, as if afraid the food might vanish. Callahan sat across from her, still in his soaked suit, watching. How long have you been alone? She took a deep breath. Since last week, after my uncle left me, he frowned. Why didn't you ask anyone else for help? Her eyes dropped to the floor. I did. A lady at the gas station told me to go away. A man said I caused trouble. A woman gave me $1, then told her kid not to come near me. So I stopped asking. Her words lodged in his mind, heavy and immovable. He had walked past people like her before, dismissing them as someone else's problem. And now here she was, sitting in his kitchen, having chosen his home because, of all things, she saw a doghouse and thought, if someone builds a home for a dog, maybe they're nice. L. Later that night, when she had fallen asleep curled under a quilt on the couch, Callahan remained in his office, staring at her. Rain still pattered against the windows, but her breathing was slow, steady. The housekeeper appeared in the doorway, her voice hushed. Should we call someone, CPS, the police? He nodded faintly. Yes, tomorrow, she hesitated. And for tonight, Callahan looked back at Amira, his jaw set. No, she's not staying just for tonight.
The next morning, sunlight spilled over headlines that no one expected. Millionaire takes in homeless girl who asked to sleep in his doghouse. The foe, a man in a rain-soaked suit carrying a small girl wrapped in blankets, spread like wildfire online. Social media erupted with one phrase: if a child is brave enough to ask for a dog's house, someone should be brave enough to give her a real one. Cameras swarmed his driveway, neighbors whispered, but Callahan didn't flinch. Standing before reporters, he said, "I'm not fostering her, I'm adopting her." The shock was instant. This was the same man who had been quoted saying he'd never marry or have children, the businessman known for ruthless takeovers, now publicly claiming a child who had stumbled into his life less than 24 hours before. Amira stood beside him in a clean blue dress and new shoes, her small hand gripping his. She didn't hide from the cameras, she faced them with quiet pride. Callahan went further. He announced the creation of the Amira Foundation, dedicated to finding not just shelter but love for abandoned children. Donations poured in from across the country. People wanted to know more, but Callahan refused interviews. "The only story that matters is hers," he said firmly. And how many more are still out there, standing in the rain, thinking a doghouse is the best they can ask for? In the days that followed, Amira's laughter began to echo through the mansion. She danced barefoot across the garden, shared scraps with the golden retriever, and explored every corner of her new home. She no longer whispered when she spoke. She called Callahan Dad before the week was over. And Callahan, the man once defined by profit margins and negotiations, learned how to braid hair, how to pack a lunchbox, and how to listen without looking at his phone. What began as a chance encounter in the rain became a story that reshaped an entire city's view of one man and reminded the world of something simpler. Compassion costs nothing, but it can change everything. The girl who once asked, "Please don't let the rain touch me," now lived in a place where she never had to ask again. And Callahan Reed, who once believed he wasn't cut out for parenting, found himself becoming exactly what she needed. In doing so, he became something else entirely: a father. In a world where too many walk past without stopping, one man knelt in the mud and said, "Not tonight, not ever again." If this story touched your heart, give it a thumbs up so more people hear it. Subscribe for more true stories that prove kindness can change everything.